Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. Tonight, the stars and cars of the U.S. Open Wheel C Series will be taking on Summit Point. My name is Chris Graham, joined in the booth tonight by Patrick Byrne, and as always by Mr. James Watson. And we got a doubleheader coming up here tonight. This one's going to be fantastic. The USF 2000, at least the artist formerly known as USF 2000, just finished up their race. You're going to see that race in its entirety at the conclusion of this one. We could not be more stoked to be bringing you full-on doubleheaders week in and week out here every Thursday night for the newly rebranded U.S. Open Wheel C and U.S. Open Wheel D series. And I'll tell you what, James, based on what we just saw out of the USF 2000 race, or what I'm going to keep screwing up and calling USF 2000, we're in for a fantastic show here tonight.
Yeah, these cars, we just saw a fantastic race in the USF 2000, and with the PM18s, a little bit more horsepower, open setups, and these guys take these cars really, really, really seriously. There's a full season-long points championship. I think last season we had the championship come down to the wire in the last event, so these guys are going to be racing hard, they're going to be racing heavy, and it's going to be a ton of fun tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And James, hopefully you're with us here still, brother. Man, a great show last time. A lot of the same names, which I am really excited about, that we saw in the last race. But a lot of the returning names that we saw, David Porcelli was very good in this championship. Not on the entry list here tonight, so it'll be interesting to see whether we get David back here this season. But Ted Burns is back, Everett Paddock, Nagisa Yoshikawa, a lot of familiar names, and now a lot of new names because participation is flat through the roof in this series.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see all the new names we're getting from all the changes and see how they do. Like, we know what to expect from Everett and Ted and Chris and all them, but it'd be interesting to see how some of these new names and the new folks factor into how this season turns out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Ted Burns, Jerome Lamy, Everett Paddock, Nagisa Yoshikawa, Nicholas Daly, all out on the racetrack. In fact, everybody but Simon Fell is on the racetrack. Man, I can't believe it. 23 and 22 cars. 45 on the total entry list tonight. This is going to be wild. Mike Holler, Brian LaBarge, guys that had low numbers last season, 12 and 13 on iRating. This is absolutely insane as Everett Paddock goes quick time, 1 minute 5.054 seconds. Nicholas Daly slotting in about 3/10 back, following along with Ted Burns. See what he can do on lap number 1, and he goes second, quick 105.157. It's only a 10th at the top of the field. Nicholas Daly slotting into third. Yoshikawa, Lemkool, your top 5. Nikita Lastochkin, he carries the 21, but he drives these things in the real world. He's going to be a fun one to watch as well. Currently 6th on the board, and only about half the field has gotten laps in, some of whom have gotten 2 laps in and no lap time. I am seeing Frank Wynn does not have a lap scoring. Everett Paddock, new quick time, 105.054. Kylo Ciacelli jumping up to third quick, 105.300. He's only going to be a quarter of a second back. Ted Burns, can he pick up the 10th that he needs through this second half of the course? New quick time, Nikita Lastochkin, 105.046. Oh my goodness, Everett Paddock dropping hammers, 104.841. Ted Burns off of turn number 10. What can he do? Lap 2 is on the board, and it is quick time, 104.816. Oh my goodness. We are throwing heaters around here. Liam Loisel, the 15 car. He's currently 5th quick at a 105.157. Pick up Simon Fell as he's working down the front straightaway, just getting started on lap number 2. Oh my goodness, these boys are going ballistic out here. You have to go back to 11th place Cody Hundley to find 1 second as Jerome Lamy gets on the board here. His lap time, 105.424. Good second lap there for Lamy. Lastochkin, I thought he was going to jump to pole, and my goodness, man, already a quarter of a second back and forth.
Yeah, like he had the pole for a minute, and then everyone else just slapped their lap times on the table. Like, look at that. Top 6, not even 4/10 separate.
Yeah, a third of a second. Almost identical lap times back there for 7th and 8th. 3 thousandths separating those drivers. Simon Fell's second lap going to get him to 19th quick on the board at a 106.291. Rod Eskew, Wes Shire, Jason Paydu are completed with qualifications, and they do not get a lap set, so they will be starting this race from the back of the field. Jerome Lamy completing his run 1:05.211 seconds for the number 2 machine, running the Renault F1 livery. Is that the Crashgate livery?
That it is.
I believe it is, yeah.
Well, we'll see if he's going to go Alonso or Piquet here this evening.
Yeah, no, that is 100% the Crashgate livery. I am on the Google machine, and
Or he could go Roman Grosjean in that livery.
Yeah,
fact,
could be.
Roman did drive that car.
Yes, he did. Qualifications are over. It is already time to go racing. My goodness.
Unfortunately, I cannot give any further insight on Crashgate, as the article I clicked on is entirely in French, and unfortunately we don't have Sebastian here to translate for us.
I can tell you all you want to know about that, but I don't think we have the time.
Yes. Now, the big difference here, James, the open wheel D-Class fixed setup, open wheel C-Class, this is open setup. So these guys are now taking the time, making the swap over from qualifying sets to race sets. I would imagine probably a little bit more downforce. Obviously, your gearing's going to be a little bit different. Talk us through kind of what some of the changes that you're going to see from a qualifying set to a race set in this car.
Well, it depends on personal preference on whether or not you think you need the downforce. Obviously, you're going to try to trim out the car as much as you can, but sometimes certain driving styles, you just kind of need the downforce as an aid. You're going to have a lot more fuel because a qualifying set, normally you'd have about 0.8 of a gallon or so for your qualifying laps. You're going to have probably upwards of 6 or 7 gallons. I don't know. You might not need that much anymore with the shorter races, but yeah, maybe a little bit different tire pressures and also kind of reset your ride heights to deal with the added fuel bringing the car lower.
Well, 13 laps is going to be the distance on this one. Same as what we saw for the US F2000 or US Open Wheel D-Class. Let's take a look here at the starting grid as we are going to get ready to roll these cars off here in just a moment. Just waiting on Jerome Lamy to get out onto the grid. Ted Burns, Everett Paddock on row number 1, only 24 thousandths separating those two at the front of the field. Nicholas Daly, Nikita Lastochkin on row number 2. Kylo Ciacelli, Liam Loisel on row 3. Jerome Lamy and Nagisa Yoshikawa on row number 4. Carl Lemkool, Frank Wynn on row 5. Couple of familiar names there. Lemkool out of the Downforce Racing stable along with Ted Burns. Mike Holler and Terry Taylor occupying row number 6 here this evening. Cody Hundley and Brian Karszewski on row 7. Simon Fell, Brian Labarge on row number 8. Going to have Ayrton D'Alessandro inside of row number 9. Lining up alongside Dylan Vilashinsky. John Landon and Tyler Maccabee on row 10. Then back to row 11 to 3 cars that did not qualify. Rod Eskew and Wes Shire. And Jason Paydu out of New York all alone on row number 12. 23 cars already developing storyline. Jerome Lamy did not make the grid. carried the number 2 into this one. And how about it here, guys? An I rating of 31.35 for this race. Round 1 to start this season. I am excited. Yeah. This one is definitely going to be fun. Okay, so iRacing has screwed up the schedules here on the website. This is a 23-lap race is what we're seeing. The website is saying 13 laps, so I'll have to see what we can... It looks like it's just spitting me out bad numbers places, but we'll work through it. This section, one of my favorites on the race course. Quick snapbacks, left, right, left. It really is technical, James, and forces the drivers to be almost inch perfect because you come out of this corner, you've got one more right-hander, and then the big blast down the front straightaway.
Yeah, for it being such a small track, it's really technical. It's super narrow. You have very little margin of error. We've seen just a little bit of a wheel here, and you're going off all the way onto the grass and having a lot of off track to traverse.
Yeah, you're going off track and into the woods in a lot of these places. Field is off at turn number 10. Green flags in the air. We are underway. U.S. Open Wheel C-Class. Ted Burns grabbing the early lead. Everett Paddock not able to do anything with the draft. Let's follow the field through turn 1. See Nikita Lastochkin working the outside of the racetrack. Nicholas Daly down to the inside. Oh, almost a little bit of left side loving there from Daly on Lastochkin. Trying to force his way into a little bit of room. They're still tight through turn 4.
Lord. Oh, my God.
Oh, one car way off. That was huge. Cody Hundley going off wildly. Getting spun back around. We'll take a look and see what happened to Cody as we follow Nikita Lastochkin and now Carl Lemkool. Everybody getting settled down single file at least a little bit. Well, we say that. Oh, big off track for Kylo Ciacelli. He's going to join in, lose 4 spots in the process. Good Lord, lap number 1 is ridiculous. Ciacelli battling with Mike Holler. Lastochkin going to have the draft from Nagisa Yoshikawa. Now it's going to be Lemkool and Yoshikawa battling side by side. Lemkool able to grab that spot, see if Yoshikawa can fight back to the outside. He cannot. Going to have Liam Loisel all over the attenuator in that car as well. Yoshikawa up 2 from the drop of the green flag, but in an early dogfight here. Towards the back of the pack, Ted Burns with 1.2 seconds over Everett Paddock. Paddock with 1.6 over Nicholas Daly. Daly with 1.8 over Nikita Lastochkin. So you're not missing anything as we're following this battle for 5th. Oh, and Lemkool's off the racetrack.
Saves it. Keeps it out of the trees, keeps it on the paved stuff, and he keeps going.
All right, let's take a look here. See what happened to Cody Hundley at the start of this race. He had a wild off track on lap number 1. Take a look at the Hot Shoe Racewear instant replay. That black and red Momo machine, oh man, just clips the grass huge into the tire barriers. And he has to take the tow back into the pit area.
Yep, just not a big margin of error.
Yeah, no margin of error. And we talked about that a little bit. Here you get off track, you're either hitting tire barriers, hills, or trees. Possibly all 3, depending on where the off track is. Patrick, it's tough to be inch perfect.
There is a 4th option, depending on where you go off. There are parts of the forest that are never ending, i.e. instantly spit you back onto pit road.
And a crazy long tow to go with it.
But yes, Summit Point isn't a perfection kind of track. It's a lot of a defense track if you're at the front. It's a lot of an offense track if you're at the rear. There's a lot of spots where everyone takes a corner differently. You know, what one might interpret as a mistake, another interprets as their normal line. So there's a lot of really unique passing opportunities here. It's just who is competent enough to take advantage of it and who isn't. And in a field with a 3,600 strength of field, all of these drivers are competent enough to take advantage of it.
Man alive, the battles are all over the place here. Brian Labarge, Jerome Lamy, John Landon, they're all fighting for position. Lamy electing for the pit lane start. So put in a decent run in qualifying, but not wanting to be in the mid-pack, I guess, is where that really kind of comes into play, because he would have been starting about 7th or 8th. Seeing Everett Paddock put up the fastest lap of the race last time by at a 1 minute 4.929. Oh, man, one car swinging way out of line back there. That may have been Wes Shire almost getting off onto the grass. 2 by 2 down the front straightaway. Lamy up on the outside of Rod Eskew. Oh, we've got Mike Holler around as well. That's not where you want to find a car spun around. Take a look. Let's see if we can see what happened to Mike Holler here. Get you this one on the Hot Shoe Racewear instant replay. Oh, maybe some contact with Kylo Ciacelli. No, maybe not. Just lost it on the outside. But getting himself spun around backwards enough to cause some carnage. Oh, and how about it? The battle for the lead now heating up. Ted Burns, Everett Paddock separated by a car length and a half into turn 1 with 18 laps to go. I tell you what, James, no surprises here. Ted Burns, Everett Paddock doing their thing back here at the front of the field. Interesting, we don't have Chris Preston tonight. Do not have David Porcelli in the field tonight as well.
Yeah, I believe David was busy with some stuff. Although Chris, I'm surprised to not see out here. I know he really likes Summit Point. But Kylo doing a great job holding the fort, him and Yoshikawa.
A couple of the Team Watson Racing drivers, Ted Burns and Nicholas Daly, I believe, are the 2 Downforce Racing entries in the show tonight. Also have the TNT car of Everett Paddock running in the 2nd position. This battle settling down a little bit. Let's slide back in the field here. Pick up Kylo Ciacelli, Ayrton D'Alessandro, and Frank Wynn. They're all running nose to tail, 7th, 8th, and 9th. Not too far back is going to be Terry Taylor in 10th as well. Oh, one off the racetrack. Oh, my goodness. So many places to make that little mistake. That was Ayrton D'Alessandro getting off the racetrack. In one of those Arrow McLaren Indianapolis 500 paint schemes. Nice conversion of that car to the Indy Pro. Now, we're going to talk about it a little bit here in the USF race coming up as well. Well, hold up. We've got a battle here. Frank Wynn looking inside of Kylo Ciacelli. Oh, man, they almost made contact. Wynn really had to back out of it. That's going to open up the door for D'Alessandro. The fight for the race lead has settled down a little bit. The gap back to about half a second between Ted Burns and Everett Paddock. As they get to battling, Nicholas Daly closing in, but still about 3 seconds back. Wow.
Sheesh.
Did you guys see that? That was full oppo locks, quickly snapping the car, getting it back straight, and he's trying to make the move on the outside.
Frank Wynn getting after it. We said it last season. I was excited to see him back in these cars because 3 or 4 times this season, you're going to see Frank do something crazy like that.
Yeah, Frank will not hesitate to make a crazy move, you know. We've seen it from him. He's been around the series a long time, about like a year plus now. So we can always count on Frank to put out a heck of a show.
Fantastic racing here as we are down to 15, now 14 laps to go as Ted Burns crosses the start-finish line. He has led every lap from the get-go. And there's contact!
Oh!
Wynn goes around. Several cars going to be involved in this one. Ayrton D'Alessandro is involved as well.
He's still got a front wing on that car, but it looks like he's dog tracking a little bit.
Yeah, Terry Taylor just getting back onto the racetrack. Frank Wynn also involved. Oh, you hate to see it.
And I'm going to need to see a replay, but I don't think that was Frank's fault. I think he just got hit from behind that turned the car around.
Yeah, let's take a look here. Wynn had to kind of grab the brakes a little bit and punt Torito out of turn 10.
All of those cars still look like they're okay to compete, but definitely some damaged egos, if anything.
Well, at the very least, damaged egos and probably some damaged race cars as well, because you can bang these cars around, but it's more of like side-to-side contact. You get nose to tail, you're probably looking at some wing damage.
Well, the wings looked okay, but one thing you have to know on these cars is the control arms are made of, I know they're not made of plastic, but they seem like it. They bend so easily, and even though we might not be able to see any visible damage on the car, the steering wheel could be cocked a little bit one way. The car might want to snap oversteer in right-hand turns and not turn at all in left-hand turn. So they can get really finicky to drive after some contact.
Well, Frank Wynn on the pit lane as Rod Eskew and Jerome Lamy are battling for position. Another good fight developing here between Nicholas Daly and Nikita Lastochkin fighting for the podium. Frank Wynn on pit lane and out of this race is what it looks like. Terry Taylor having it off track as well. He has to take the toe back in. Also involved in that contact with D'Alessandro. D'Alessandro running in the 11th position. Losing a bunch of time here to Simon Fell as well. Lastochkin outside. Big dive into turn number 1. Dick Daly going to fight back. Lastochkin finally able to clear. That's going to put him up onto the podium here as we are at the halfway point. My goodness, there is racing going on all over this place. Let's take a look back here. Good fight. Oh, man, maybe had somebody. Yeah, Jerome Lamy off track briefly. Oh, he's spun around right in the middle of the racetrack. And he's got to take the toe. Take a look. See the Hot Shoe Racewear instant replay. Oh, just clipped a little bit of grass. Oh, bangs it hard off the wall. That car is junk.
Ruined the right side.
So Lamy has to take the toe. Now D'Alessandro battling with Rod Eskew. Eskew going to swing out wide. He should be able to get this pass completed by the start-finish line. In fact, he'll do it before they get to turn 1. So put Rod Eskew up to position number 11. Slide back forward. to Lastochkin and Daly continuing their fight for third. Battle for the lead still sitting right about half a second. And it'll be 10 to go next time by. As a reminder, coming up right after the conclusion of this race and the victory lane interviews, it will be U.S. Open Wheel D-Class racing coming up. Move back in the field, Kylo Ciacelli, Carl Lemkool battling for 7th. Lemkool going to get the big draft down the front straightaway, see how much ground he can make up through the twisty bits. A little bit wider exit for Ciacelli, maybe carrying a little bit more speed. And James, this really becomes a little bit of a delicate balance. You have a couple of long straightaways, in fact one very long straightaway, but you have so many tight corners you kind of can't run a true load downforce setup. So you're kind of trying to maximize the difference kind of in the middle.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest tracks to set up for this car because, like you said, you have a lot of straightaway that you need to worry about, but you still need to have a whole lot of downforce because you can't run true A1. Honestly, probably not even in Bs because you need a lot of grit through the middle sector.
I'm almost curious if some of these guys are running a setup similar to Lime Rock with the sheer amount of right-hand quarters on this track.
Cross weight and a... Whoa!
Ooh, hold on to it.
I was going to say, it's not often we speak about crossweight on a road course, but it's definitely something you got to watch for at a track that's as right turn bias as this, as we see some absolute craziness going on with Ciacelli and the blinking number 6 car.
Oh my goodness. So much going on here. Man, good battle. A little bit deeper in the pack here as well. Tyler Maccabee, Ayrton D'Alessandro, Mike Holler, and Wes Shire all nose to tail. D'Alessandro already having some contact here tonight, continuing to fall back through the field.
Honestly,
Mike Holler going around as well.
Honestly, for what he's been through, he's holding his own pretty well. That car has been through it, but he's not fallen as far as you'd think.
Oh, hold on to it, Carl. Carl Lemkool sideways through turn 2. Kylo Ciacelli coming past. Now Brian Karszewski's going to be there for that party as well. Battle for the race lead still sitting right about a half second separating Ted Burns from Everett Paddock. One of the fun things, we'll talk about this a little bit later in the USF race, or US Open Wheel D race, a broadcast championship series similar to what we had last season, but this time we're going to run it for all 3 series. You heard 3. There's going to be a C-Class champ, a D-Class champ, and an overall champ. So if you run both races, you're going to have a shot at claiming a championship over somebody that dominates in one series or the other. That's going to be a fun one to watch here, and we'll have the point standings up on our social channels here on Friday morning. Mike Holler having an off-course excursion once again, but we are not taking our eyes off of this one. Carl Lemkool, Kylo Ciacelli battling. Brian Karszewski's got a fantastic view of it. Down to 6 laps to go, and the lead is shrinking. It's now down to a quarter of a second. Paddock backs off a little bit into turn number 1, but he's going to be within a car length or so as they exit 2. And I'll tell you what, great corner exit speed there from Ted Burns. That really could be the difference maker here, Patrick, is having just enough to get great corner exit speed. That may be all that Ted Burns needs.
Yeah, like we said all season long in the Sim Racers Club, and it matters for every car you race. You have to take care of the car and save it to the end. Obviously, you don't want to leave any on the table. You know, if you have extra rubber left on the tires, extra fuel left in the tank when the checkered flag goes, you can't take that home with you. But you also got to save it so it's there for the checkered flag. If you've got nothing left, then you're a sitting duck out there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, weather conditions are not going to play that much of a factor. Track temp's only at 86 degrees, but I'll tell you what, James, you really work these things hard, you can wear enough rubber off of these tires that maybe it does start to go away late in the race.
Yeah, you don't really pay attention to the tire wear as much here as you would on the oval, but it definitely does play a factor in. And so you just got to be easy on it as you can, you know, easy into the corner, easy off of the corner on the throttle, easy with your steering input.
Oh, great move by Lemcool. He's trying the crossover. Ciacelli kind of shoves him out a little bit wide. That was a Pruitt fade by Kylo Ciacelli on Carl Lemcool, forcing him to back out. Now Simon Fell's going to be involved in this one as well. Simon having a good run, up 5, as is Brian Karszewski. Several hard charges tonight. Rod Eskew up 10, Tyler Maccabee up 8, Wes Shire up 9. I would imagine, Patrick, 5 to go, 4 to go. Maybe you let that Pruitt fade go. I don't think you're going to do it with 1 or 2 laps to go, though.
No, this is definitely a track where you got to set it up multiple corners in advance, possibly even a lap in advance. So you got to really be on it just like that, getting ready to make the move. And that, if you want to bring up a replay, he set that up 6 corners ago when kind of bridging the gap, but maintaining just enough of a gap to get a good run out of the final corner. And it's not going to work out for him in 1 here.
Oh, man. Maybe a little bit of contact between Ciacelli and Lemcool. Now Lemcool going to try the crossover. Stuffs it up the inside.
But it's followed by a right-hander, and I don't know if he's going to clear him.
Oh, man, these two are going at it. What a fantastic battle between Carl Lemcool and Ciacelli.
On the inside.
Oh, Lemcool saves it.
Out.
Wow. Big wiggle from Carl Lemcool. Now down to 3 to go.
That is place for that to happen.
No,
man, Carl must have been really nervous after that.
Mid double apex corner. Yeah, that's exactly where I want the back end to start stepping out. Ciacelli,
that's a little late for the drift guys.
Ciacelli trying to break the draft. Karszewski able to get around Lemcool. And now he's going to try the draft in the big run down to turn 1. Ciacelli up on the curbing. Oh, wow. Definitely almost a little left side loving there from Kylo Ciacelli on Brian Karszewski. Karszewski going to fight back. He is not giving an inch. Ciacelli able to clear once again, down to 2 to go. Let's get back to the battle for the race lead. It's sitting right at 1/3 of a second. Where does Everett Paddock make the move? Everybody's anticipating. I mean, Ted Burns is going, it's coming at turn 1. But Everett Paddock's no dummy. He's not going to make that move there if he thinks there's a different spot that he could take a shot at it.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what Everett has up his sleeve and what Ted has up his sleeve even retaliation.
Oh, man. Now Ron Eskew right in the middle of this battle with Karszewski, Lemkool, Simon Fell. It's about 3/4 of a second up to Kylo Ciacelli in the 7th position. White flag is out. 1 lap to go here at Summit Point. Don't go anywhere. More racing coming up next. Paddock not close enough to attempt the pass into turn number 1. Still nose to tail, sitting right about a half second. Knowing Everett the little bit that we do, James, I don't know that he's going to try something crazy to pick up a win.
No, but he's going to give it a hell of an effort.
Yeah, he's going to push that car to its absolute limit, but he's not going to do something dumb in the process either. Down to turn number 10 for the final time. Twin checkers will go in the air. Over the start-finish line, Ted Burns claims the win in U.S. Open Wheel C by a half second over Everett Paddock. Nikita Lastochkin holds on for third by a 1/4 of a second over Nicholas Daly. Man alive, what a fantastic race. Into the final quarter. Oh, there's contact!
Whoa!
Ron Eskew slides off the racetrack. Trying to get around Kylo Ciacelli. Drag race to the line. Oh, Karszewski got him at the line. What a finish. Kylo Ciacelli getting himself off back and launched back into the pit area. My goodness, what a fantastic race. Whew. I think we can breathe again here, boys. Let's take a look at the race results. Ted Burns getting the win officially by 4/100ths of a second over Everett Paddock. Nikita Lastochkin, Nicholas Daly, and Nagisa Yoshikawa round out your top 5. 6 through 10 going to be Liam Loisel, Brian Karszewski, Kylo Ciacelli, Carl Lemkool, and Simon Fell. Tyler Maccabee, Wes Shire, Brian Labarge, John Landon, and Ayrton D'Alessandro back to the 15th position. 16 through 20 tonight. Mike Holler, Jason Paydu, Rod Eskew, Dylan Vilashinsky, and Jerome Lamy. Terry Taylor, Frank Wynn, and Cody Hunley all going out of this race before the halfway point. Race took just 31 minutes, 35 seconds to complete. Getting this one done in a hurry. Let's take a look here and see who we may have to talk to. Well, we'll wait and see if any of our top finishers pop in. But, man alive, before we get ready to head off to U.S. Open Wheel D, the artist formerly known as USF 2000, I'll tell you what, Bizzle, we got a hell of a show here tonight, man.
Oh, yeah. These two cars always put on a show. I mean, they're low-powered, relatively high downforce open wheel cars. Lightweight, ton of fun. You can really race up close to one another, almost like what we saw in Formula One in the late 80s, early 90s, where these guys were just racing wheel to wheel the whole track. I don't know what other words I could use to describe it. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Let's talk to the guy here who finished in second place here tonight, Mr. Everett Paddock. And, man, I'll tell you what, bud, you were close but no cigar here. late in this one, ultimately within probably a car length or so over the last couple of laps. But fantastic drive tonight. Heck of a way to start the season.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Ted was tough. He's a tough guy to beat. You know, he's a good racer. Really knows how to place his car and stuff. And so it was. I was gonna have to lunge hard into turn one. Was just didn't quite have the testicular fortitude to get her done.
Good empty box term right there.
Well, I was going to say, at some point, though, discretion may be the better part of valor. This is a long season, a long championship. You don't want to turn a good podium finish into a drop week on week one.
Yeah, roger that. And in all fairness, Ted's been helping me out this week. He's really quick here, and he gave me some nice tips. And I didn't feel like giving him the big send was the right way to handle that. So hats off to Mr. Burns.
All right, bud. Well, congratulations on the fantastic run and a great way to start the season here. And before we let you go, get any sponsor plugs or thank yous taken care of for us.
Yeah, thanks again to the DFR boys, to Carl, Nick, and Ted especially for the help this week. And good luck to my TNT teammates as well. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, thanks, bud. You too. We appreciate you. And now let's talk to our race winner. And, well, we're not going to give out any spoilers tonight, but we do talk to him later. Ted Burns, absolutely fantastic drive tonight. Put the car on pole, which was a big deal because you could dictate the start of the race. And ultimately, that kind of sealed things up, at least for the early part. You were able to control the pace and how everybody else was going to run you.
Yeah, it's always important starting up front, and here you can get really congested into turn one, so it's nice being able to know exactly when when you're going to go and be able to get that little jump on the field, and that paid big dividends today. And yeah, happy to be able to put it on pole. I know it was really tight there with Everett. I haven't been the best at qualifying this car in the past, so happy to get that done today in those tricky conditions.
Yeah, Everett gave you a whole bunch of props for some help over the course of the week. He said the big send would not have been the right thing to do. Did you think it was going to come with 1 or 2 laps to go?
Yeah, I mean, I kept making mistakes in the final corner, so he kept getting runs, and I could not get my braking down into turn one. It was like I was struggling with those 2 corners all race. I kept changing the bias, I was changing how I was hitting the brakes, and just nothing was working. He just kept closing up on me. And, I kind of had in the back of my head, I was like, I know Everett's not going to battle, too early. We're going to get to the end, try not and fall back, into the grass with P3. But I was like, if I keep making mistakes like this, like he's got to, have a go at it. I'm just inviting him up the inside there. But yeah, it was good fun with him, and he kept me honest the entire race. It was intense.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch. Big time points here, a big strength of field. It seems at least early indications are the alignment with the IP2K with the old USF 2000 seems like it's paying some dividends here early on.
Oh yeah, I'm loving it. All week the participation has been great in both series, that is, and yeah, it's awesome seeing so many new faces out here. And I mean, we almost had 3 splits tonight, which is unheard of for this car. So props to everyone for coming out. Yeah, looking forward to next week at Road America, another popular track. If there's one track I would drive better on the service than Summit Point, it's probably Road America. So watch out, everyone. But yeah, it's been going awesome.
Well, before we let you go here, make sure you get all the sponsor plugs and thank yous in on what is turning into a very big night to start the season for you.
Yeah, it's been a tiring night for sure doing all these races, but it's a lot of fun. So got to thank you guys up in the booth, putting on a great broadcast. Can't wait to go back and watch it. I got to thank everyone for coming out in this series and running this and the USF this week. And of course, thanks to Downforce Racing for all the work this week on setup and lines. And yeah, we put out some fast race cars tonight, and happy to get the win.
All right, bud. Well, thank you much. We greatly appreciate you taking some time here, checking in with us. And, man, I'll tell you what here, boys, as we get ready to head on over to the U.S. Open Wheel D-Class broadcast. This one was fun. We got a lot more fun coming up here as well here with the USF 2000 race. Good night number 1 here to start things off, James.
Yeah, this went a lot better than I was expecting. Like, this is a lot of fun. I think we have something really special here.
Yeah,
This,
I tend to agree with you on that. Uh, Seeing different names, different faces, that this is going to be cool. We have to get everybody into the appropriate Discord server here. If you need the link, we'll share that up on the socials. But yeah, we want to be able to talk to everybody, all of our race winners here and our podium finishers and whatnot. But I just, James, I am loving the participation numbers that we're seeing, and the action is great as always.
yeah, these participation numbers is a lot more than we've seen in a long time, and that is huge. Like, this car is one of the best on the service, and having people finally start to realize how much of a blast driving this car is and racing in the series, it's awesome. I'm excited, and I'm excited that we're back doing these.
Yeah, I am really, really jacked up that we're getting to do these again. And with that, it's time for us to head on over to our coverage of the U.S. Open Wheel D Championship, the old USF 2000 cars. Time for a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. It is more racing action coming up here on the National Racing Network.
I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, back with more iRacing action. We just finished up the Indy Pro 2000 Championship race. Well, I'm sorry, it's not the Indy Pro 2000 Championship. It's U.S. Open Wheel C or something. Welcome back here. We're back to Summit Point. This one's going to be fun. I've got James Watson and Patrick Byrne in the booth with me. We might even have the wild Jason Owens making an appearance at some point. I'll tell you what, I am really excited for this one. The USF 2000 cars, it's now called US Open Wheel D. This one's going to be a lot of fun, James. It's only slightly less horsepower, and quite frankly, depending on the racetrack, that can often be more fun.
Yeah, honestly, I've always found the USF to be a tad more difficult to drive than the PM18 because of the open diff, and it makes the rear end kind of behave differently. So it's going to make for interesting racing. You know, Summit Point isn't it too difficult of a track, and we've got some top talent in this race. So I don't think it's going to be too much chaos, but I don't know. We've said that before, and well, look at the first time we did the PM18 SOF here and a major pile up.
Yeah, they're gonna make us look dumb. That is for sure. Let's take a look here and tell you a little bit about Summit Point Raceway as qualifications are just getting underway. Located in Summit Point, West Virginia, 1.98 miles, 3.19 for those of you that speak in kilometers. 10 corners, originally opened in 1973. We've got Jason Owens in the booth with us. Jason, I'm pretty sure we're going to see it. Well, yeah, I have to figure out how we do this. This is tape delayed, people. So I have to talk about it like we've just seen something, but I don't know what we've seen yet because we're going to do the Indy Pro race live. Anyway, what are your thoughts here, Jason? This place is, we've seen carnage, we've seen great racing. Summit Point can be a little bit of everything.
It really can, Chris. And one of the things I'm super excited tonight is, I don't know if you guys mentioned this yet, just hopped on from getting the kid in bed, is we've got 58 registered for 4 splits. So we're going to have a banger SOF for this top split race tonight. Super excited to see how the racing goes. I'm expecting some super tight, super competitive racing like we've seen all week in some of the higher level splits.
Yes, you can say that again. It is round number 1. 7 laps is the distance on this one. It is not a long race at all. But how about it? The strength of field, 32-52. Total of 60 cars, by the way, on the entry list. 4 15-car splits. Yes, please. We will take all of that and more. I can't wait. This is going to be... This one's going to be fun. Cars are already out on the racetrack here for their first set of laps here. Let's get the ticker up here to the top of the screen. You'll see the names pop up there as they roll along, and we'll swap it over here to get you the times as well.
These are such a fun car to drive and a fun little car to look at. I like the look of these a little better than the PM18s with that kind of loop rear wing instead of the more traditional rear wing we see on the PM18s.
Yeah, the loop, you make a good point. There's a couple of differences to these cars that you can tell. There's a little bit difference in the rear wing. Obviously, the airbox on the side of the car. And a couple of other things.
Actually, you wouldn't think about it, Chris, but there's a little weight distribution side to side that comes in from that airbox that some of these really good drivers can notice. And then you've got the single element front wing versus the dual element in the BM18.
Yeah, this one's going to be it's going to be interesting to watch, and quite frankly, a bit of a learning experience for us as well up here in the booth. Several cars, actually just about everybody out on the racetrack right now. Let's see, lap number 1 on the board, Nicholas Daly going to be quick time at a 1 minute 8.398. Ted Burns, 8/100ths of a second back. Carl Lemkuhl, Kylo Ciacelli, Wes Shire, Brian Karszewski, Nagisa Yoshikawa, Frank Wynn. There's a lot of familiar names, but there's also a bunch that we're going to have to get used to seeing. Also seeing Nikita Lastochkin in this one as well. He's got some real-world experience in these cars. We'll see who's going to be able to translate that. Big lap out of Richard Matthews at a 1 minute 8.449. He's, well, he was second quick. Ted Burns jumping up to P2 as he finishes lap number 2, and just about everybody is done in qualifications at this point as we're down to about 3 minutes and 45 seconds left on the clock. Nagisa Yoshikawa finishing up his run. He will not get the lap in. Let's see. We'll pick up Nicholas Daly. He's out here on the racetrack as well. This is a big deal for these guys because this race, we're broadcasting it second, but it's running first. It gives you some extra laps on the car or on the racetrack in a similar car. And James, I would imagine that can be invaluable to you in trying to prep for the SOF race.
Definitely. I think that's going to be one of the underrated aspects of the new schedule change and how the series run is you're going to be able to double your track time and be able to just be even more quick in both series, which is still interesting to me because, again, I've always felt both cars kind of drive a little different.
Yeah, I agree, James. They really do. Like, I feel like you almost have to point and shoot a little bit more in the USF than you can in the PM18, where you have to slide a little bit more. But Chris, I don't know if you mentioned the fact that we're going to be putting on a combined championship for guys that are running in both of these SOF races.
Yeah, we didn't get there yet, but yes, that's one of the talking points here for the evening, and quite frankly, a fun talking point at that. We're going to be running basically 3 separate championships all within one night of broadcast mediocrity. A D-Class championship, a C-Class championship, and then an overall championship. Where that makes a big difference is you can go out, if you dominate in the USF cars in the top split, you may be able to take the championship, the broadcast championship, from somebody that runs the D-Class cars. The trick is, for guys like Ted Burns, he's going to score points in both. That's where things are really going to get crazy. You can pile up a ton of points in this thing. I believe the numbers are going to be 15, 12. I forget now. I'll find the chat.
But it's
15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Rewarding for podiums, right? Like, you get podiums in both, you're going to be on a short track to success.
Yes, that is putting it mildly here. Just waiting on Kylo Ciacelli and Chris Wentz to get out onto the grid. But let's take a look at the starting grid for the U.S. Open Wheel D Official Series. It needs a name, even if we're calling it something else. It needs a name. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on the name. Nicholas Daly going to line up alongside Ted Burns by about 1/10.5. Daly claiming pole position here for round number 1. Jerome Lamy and Craig Lundy on row 2. Richard Matthews and Carl Lemkool occupying row number 3. Row 4 is going to have Nagisa Yoshikawa and Cody Hunley. Wes Schuyler, Kylo Ciacelli on row number 5. Nikita Lastochkin, Chris Wetz on row 6. Row number 7 will have Frank Wynn and Brian Karszewski. Nico Shembri out of California, scheduled to line up in the 15th position tonight, but he does not make the grid. So, I'm sorry, Chris Wetz not making the grid. Car number 11, he's electing to start from pit lane. We may see a lot of that over the course of the season here, guys. It just, some of these places, especially a place like Summit Point, long run to turn 1, and then you got a tight entry here, Patrick. Sometimes the pit lane start might be a better option here when you're talking about D-Class cars.
Definitely in lower splits, but here in top split, you're not going to want to go for that. These are all drivers who are well experienced at iRacing and are really just driving this car because it's fun, not because it's a stepping stone car. So a pit lane start is not one I'm expecting to see here tonight.
I mean, that's a great call, Patrick, because you look up and down this field, there's 4 guys with a B license, 1 guy with a D license, and everybody else is A, and there's quite a few A4 pluses here. Like, this is a pretty darn well skilled pointing into the field. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers that are 4,700 or higher in iRating in this deal. This is this could get spicy.
This is no slouch. We are looking forward to it here. The artist formerly known as USF 2000 making their way on the back half of the racetrack now. Nice long overhead drone shot here. Putting the cameras together here today at Summit Point. There's a couple of interesting shots we're looking forward to you guys getting to see, but they'll come out of that long meandering kind of middle sector, I guess. A big blast down here towards the entry to pit lane. A quick right-hand turn, and this race will be underway very, very quickly indeed. Field making their way through that final quarter, turn number 10. They're packed up nicely. Looks like we are about ready to go. 13 laps the distance. Green flag in the air. We are underway here at Summit Point. Daly
Is
getting
that not one of the best starts we've ever seen?
Yeah, Daly getting a great jump. Everybody looking clean. They're 3 wide, battling for third to turn 1. Oh, grab the binders big. Nice shot up the inside. I think that was Jerome Lamy. In that green and black machine, that car looked good. Already up to, well, he went from 5th to 4th. Now he's trying to make 3rd. This is where we saw some carnage and insanity here a couple of seasons ago in the Indy Pro 2000 championship. Nobody's gutsy enough to make the move. Oh, but just about going around his third place, Jerome Lamy. Ted Burns able to get around. Trouble for Nicholas Daly. Race leader entering the corners around. He's going to back it up. But big time trouble for race leader Nicholas Daly.
That's an oops.
Yeah, he had to take the toe.
Oh, he got it
like
deep.
Daly was wide there coming.
Oh, buddy, hold on to it. We're going dirt track in here. I think that was Cody Hundley, Carl Lemkool possibly. Still a great side-by-side battle here. We'll get the Hot Shoe Racewear instant replay ready for you. Show you what happened to Nicholas Daly there at turn number, I think it was turn 7. These guys still side-by-side.
This is amazing racing. And Jerome Lamy about pulled a Colton Herta at IMS there. That was incredible.
Yeah, he getting after it on lap 1, but now he's going to have to contend with trying to get around Ted Burns as Nagisa Yoshikawa up 4 around Craig Lundy. He's up into a podium position as well. Let's take a look here. See what happened to Nicholas Daly on the Hot Shoe Racewear instant replay. Oh, just overcooked it a little bit and high sides it. That's not the way you want to get yourself going around here on lap number 1. And he will not score.
Frank Wynn has taken an extracurricular excursion and is down to 14th now.
Yeah, let's take a look here. We have that. Frankie Baby spending 12 seconds off the racetrack after this one. Oh, just shoots wide, and you got nothing there. That's where you just straight line that one. Just cut the whole section of racetrack out.
That wouldn't be a terrible idea if you didn't get slapped with a huge cutting the course block flag.
Yes.
I was just testing that in iRacing, and there's a wonderful button on my steering wheel that gets rid of that black flag and shuts that stupid official up.
Somehow I think that wouldn't have worked for Frankie.
I don't think so either. He did have the Winter Olympics. Can't tell if that was like the skeleton or if he was going for the figure skating look there, but he did have an almost pirouette out there.
New fastest lap of the race for Ted Burns, 1 minute 8.278 faster than he ran in qualifications.
And we expect that. We should see the times continue to come down significantly as the fuel burns off on these cars with the fixed set.
Yeah, that's a big one in this one here. James, we'll come to you on this. The difference, the key difference between the old Indy Pro Series and the USF 2000 Series is this one is fixed setup. Not much of anything you can do to these race cars. It really is in the driver's hands.
Yeah, and thankfully they really upped the setup game for the car. Like, I've heard a lot of good things about the fixed setup for this season. Like, in the few times I've run the cars, it's been a bit of a struggle with the setups. It just haven't been as good as you hope, but they found something for this week at least that makes it a lot more fun to drive these cars.
Speaking of fun to drive, Yoshikawa, Lundy, and Hundley are looking like they're having the drive of their lives out there with the give and take they've got going on.
Yeah, kind of interesting. We're not seeing the draft play as huge of a role. Is that just a matter of kind of being topped out on the setup? I mean, they're staying close to each other, but you're not getting that really huge suck up that we see in the Indy Pro races.
It's that extra, 75 horsepower that Indy Pro cars have, or 50 horsepower? It's kind of surprising, but it makes a massive difference at the higher end of the range.
It's not much horsepower. When you get into cars this light and cars that are this low horsepower to begin with, the Indy Pro 2000 cars are under 300 horsepower as it stands. Taking away 50 horsepower is taking away almost 12% of that. So These are definitely not 358 cubic
no.
inch,
Oh, my
678
goodness.
Yeah, that's
horsepower
the
cars.
wrong car there on the tech info.
That would be the next gen car.
Actually,
The graphics
if you
guy
put
stinks.
600 horsepower in these things, it'd be the most fun car on the service.
Yes, I would agree with
without
that
a
one.
doubt.
Let's tell the graphics guy to get his shit together. Okay, it still doesn't want to work. So we're just
He still needs to get it together.
yeah. Anyway,
He's fired.
we have the numbers anyway. It's a 2-liter engine.
Was that a Pruitt fade from Yoshikawa into one?
Hell yeah.
I say I'm over here trying to fix the graphics, so I'm not even paying attention to what the heck's going on. The difference in power, by the way, 175 horsepower for the USF cars, 275 for the Indy Pro 2000 cars. You're not talking a small number. I mean, Patrick, you mentioned it. The rest of the specs are the same. This car weighs 500 kilograms, I think it is, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking a very light, very tiny race car. That 100 horsepower is a huge difference.
Yeah, now I work with engines every day, and we go and dyno test engines, and we celebrate when we find something that picks up 1 or 2 horsepower in a 600 horsepower engine. That's equivalent to maybe 1,000th of a second on a drag strip.
Well, speaking of the draft,
Yeah.
Lundy with a huge pull, but he's on the outside. I don't know if he can make it stick here.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to make it stick, and quite frankly, Nagisa is really good at covering that inside lane. Go ahead and try it. Get all the draft you want. You're not going to get around him outside of turn 1.
He's so good on the brakes.
And he's just putting his car in all the right places. Like, I've seen him try to make the move around the outside, around the inside, and Yoshi's just able to pull back ahead every time.
Carl Lemkool coming past Nikita Lastochkin. Cole Hunley battling with Richard Matthews, and then you have that battle just in front between Yoshikawa and Lundy. It's 5 seconds up the road to Jerome Lamy in second. Ted Burns leading Lamy by 1.3 seconds here as we are down to the halfway point. 6 laps to go here. Cross flags up at Summit Point.
Interesting over in-race comms, Yoshikawa asked Hunley to Lundy, to try and stay in line and break away from the rest of the guys. And immediately after that, Lundy tried to make a lunge, or a lungy, right down the inside. So they are not working together.
No, they're not playing nicely. These guys are not either. Nikita Lastochkin coming back around Carl Lemkool. Nico Schembri going to be in that one as well. A good run there. He's the guy starting from pit lane up 6 to run in the 9th position, but unfortunately you're not going to gain a ton of ground when you give up half of that front straightaway.
He is, however, running about a second faster than these guys in front of him that are fighting. And how about Ciacelli with the recovery drive after that first lap off that had him next to last after Daly went off. But he's back up to 10th after getting all the way down to 14.
We truly have a situation of best in class going on. Ted Burns, Jerome Lamy in the 1 minute 8.2 for the 5-lap average. Everybody else in the 1 minute 9s. You're talking about these two guys at the front running, 8 tenths, 7 tenths faster than the rest of the field. Does it become difficult to keep concentration if you're Ted Burns and you're kind of just hot lapping this place?
I wouldn't say he's just hot lapping, because Lamy has been in his tracks anywhere from 1.2 to 1.3 seconds back. He's just outside the draft range in these cars, and it'll be interesting to see. These races go super fast in these cars, but it'll be interesting to see if he can find something here as the fuel burns off.
Man, that is a huge gap back to Jerome Lamy. Ted Burns, well, quite frankly, doing what Ted Burns does and absolutely dominating. Yoshikawa and Lundy able to separate themselves out a little bit here. Maybe the playing nice is starting to work. Maybe a little bit of a mistake out of Lundy. Let's slide back a little further here. Pick up Kylo Ciacelli having the move on Shembri. Ciacelli outside. He'll get the move clean to turn 1. Shembri dives up the inside, not going to give it back. Put Kylo Ciacelli up to position number 9. Carl Lemkool battling with Nikita Lastochkin. He just went fastest lap of the race. 1 minute 8.188. So quicker than the leaders by about a tenth. Unfortunately, just kind of buried here deep in the field. That may be a trend, Patrick, that we see develop where qualifying becomes really important in these USF races. You give up 3 or 4 positions on the grid, you're talking about possibly giving up tenths and being out of draft range before you get to turn 1.
Yes, these cars are not very high downforce cars, but they're also not very high power cars. So even a short track like Summit Point becomes a draft track with these things. So you have to keep yourself up there, have to keep yourself in the draft. And if you're out of it, you're almost done unless the guy in front of you makes a big mistake.
Which is a good call out for next week when we're at Road America. And talk about a draft track. In these cars, it's
80% of the lap is full throttle.
Yeah, you're full throttle drafting almost the whole way around the track.
Yeah, it'll be a pack race, a road course pack race.
Let's talk a little bit about the differences in the schedule here as well, because that's something we can't ignore. The iRacing staff decided to align the schedules with the Indy Pro 2000 car and the USF 2000 car. So the schedules will be identical. They took one of the ovals away, so we only have 2 of them this season. We're going to run Phoenix in week number 5 and USA International in week number 11. But there are a lot of fast, I would say, pack race type situations for these cars. Road Atlanta is going to be crazy fastest car. We're going to Spa. That is going to be insane. Even Long Beach, in some respects, is going to be pretty crazy.
I mean, really, it's a great, it's almost a greatest hits schedule for these cars. You got 6 free tracks. You got 3 or 4 of the most owned tracks on the service. You've got 2 free ovals. Phoenix is going to be probably the craziest pack race you'll ever see in your life in these USF cars. And then you've got Barber, which is criminally underrated to drive and is going to be a great race. It's going to be a phenomenal season start to finish. And hopefully we can bring some more, not only eyeballs to the broadcast, but seats to the sessions and really start to turn around participation in both of these 2 series and get more people driving.
We have long said the Indy Pro 2000 car.
Best
Good Lord, I'm choking on myself.
Road and oval car on the service while you're choking over there, Chris.
Yes.
Chris, that's 2 nights in a row you're choking on yourself. That's pretty damn impressive.
I am staying far away from that one. Craig Lundy owns the fastest lap of the race, doing it 1 lap ago with a 108.15. May not matter much. He's trying to get around Nagisa Yoshikawa. Now he's going to have to look up the inside. He may be in position here. Yoshikawa fights back. Man, this is going to be a great battle.
This is such a great battle. Can he get the position into carousel? It doesn't look like he will.
Yoshikawa has to run a little bit wide. One car possibly going off the racetrack there a little bit as well. Nico Shembri going off track. Yeah, Matthews and Lestochkin battling as well. Man, I hate to take my eyes off of this one, but down the front straightaway, checkered flag in the air. Ted Burns going to claim round number 1 here at Summit Point. Off the final corner. Can Yoshikawa hold on? Lundy drags him. Who's it going to be? Wow, great run. Nagisa Yoshikawa holding on over Craig Lundy. Burns, Lamy Yoshikawa, the podium.
Officials, Chris, but it was either, I think it was less than 1/100th between Yoshikawa and Lundy for the podium.
Yes. Let's see here. That's the camera we're looking for. Big thank you to the graphics company, by the way. The update that they put out for their software today absolutely foobarred everything on our platform. Spent the last couple hours trying to rebuild that. So big thanks to those guys. If it's not iRacing, it's somebody connected to iRacing blowing things up on update day. Ted Burns closing things out here. And let's take a look at the race results. Man, this one was fun. Ted Burns, the winner by 1.5 seconds over Jerome Lamy. Nagisa Yoshikawa by how about 8 1,000ths? 13, whatever. It's close. It's in the thousands. Yoshikawa taking third over Lundy. Cody Hundley coming home fifth. Nikita Lastochkin sixth. Richard Matthews seventh. Carl Lemkuhl eighth. Nico Shembri ninth. And Kylo Ciacelli completes the top 10. Brian Karszewski, Wes Shire, Chris Wetz, Frank Wynn back to 14th, rounding out the cars on the lead lap. Nicholas Daly goes from hero to zero, qualifying on the pole, having that early issue. He will be all the way back down in the 15th position here this evening.
Hey, Chris, Shimbri made the pit start work for the hard charger of the race tonight.
Yeah, you know what? It's a good thing we're not giving out bonus points, because I would have to think about, does that count you for bonus points for hard charger? I guess it does, because you qualified. If you qualify on pole, start from pit lane, you still have to pass everybody to get back up to first, right?
Right.
You would start down 15. So, yeah, I guess we won't penalize the pit start. But let's take a look here. We have our third place finisher joining us up here in the booth. Let's get the cameras squared away on him, bring him in, and let's talk to the guy who finished third by a couple of thousandths, Nagisa Yoshikawa. Congratulations. Fantastic battle there with Craig Lundy that entire race.
Yeah, it was really fun. I'm glad we kept it super clean. There's some moments there where netcode could have came into play, or if either of us had been a little in a different spot, it could have gone wrong. But no, it was awesome. Kept it really clean, and I was pretty happy with my defense there.
Yeah, this is a kind of interesting one here as the season is getting ready to kick off, because we're going to get to have not just the Indy Pro 2000 series, but also running these USF cars. Talk us through a little bit what you feel the differences are behind the wheel. I mean, obviously the fixed setups are going to make a difference, but the lack of horsepower, lack of downforce, it really is kind of a different beast.
Yeah, it's really just the downforce is the biggest difference, especially with the fixed setup this week. You drive the USF a bit more; it's got a bit more understeer in the car, and it's just a little bit more sluggish. You got to drive it a little bit differently, kind of back up the corner a bit more. Whereas the Indy Pro, you got the extra downforce; you can really send it into the corner and be a little bit sideways and kind of recover on the exit. But they're both really fun. I think they got the fixed setup pretty good this week. It's really fun to drive, so I can't complain really.
All right, bud. Well, congratulations on the third place finish here tonight. And before we let you go, get all those sponsor plugs and thank yous in.
Yeah, Team Watson Racing setups. Check them out for one of the only Indy Pro setups you can really find anymore, especially with this new season. Everyone there has done a great job, Team Watson Racing. And then just want to say a big thanks to all you guys for keeping the broadcast up. I think it's going to be awesome with the double split, and hopefully I'll talk to you guys in an hour.
Yep, sounds good, buddy. Thank you much. We appreciate you. And let's bring in our race winner tonight, Mr. Ted Burns. Man, I'll tell you what, bud. Got out to the lead early, able to take advantage.
Put it on him out there, Ted.
Yeah, and then it was game over from there.
Yeah, this is I think my fourth race in the car this week, and just been working on consistency. So I knew once if I could get that little bit of a gap and didn't have to fight for it, I could probably hold it. So it was just churning out laps. I think I did like six 108.2s in a row. It was something ridiculous. Even I was surprised by it. But yeah.
It was fun to watch. I'll tell you what, because Jerome was matching you lap for lap. In fact, the only lap that he was quicker than you was the final lap of the race, but you guys were within like a tenth and a half. It's just enough to say I can't make a mistake because this guy's going to get me if I do.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was very much, got to stay focused, hit all the marks, because yeah, I could tell the relative wasn't changing. It was like he's just matching me every corner, every single lap. So yeah, he put on a great effort. It was tough. Couldn't relax or anything. Had to stay in the zone and foot on the pedal the whole time.
Well, now this has got to be feeling pretty good as we head into the artist formerly known as Indy Pro 2000 U.S. Open Wheel C official series coming up here in about an hour or so. What are your thoughts there? This place races very differently in those cars. More horsepower, probably a little bit higher strength of field as well. We've been here 2 or 3 times and seen carnage on, I think, 2 of those occasions.
Yeah, I was a recipient of some of that carnage. I think one of the last times we were here. So it's all I can say is luckily we're doing the former Indy Pro second because it's a lot easier going into the faster car with the extra downforce. So yeah, I think it should be fun. But the cars are similar, so we'll have to run a couple practice laps here to try and adapt. But I'm loving the schedule going back to back. So we'll see if we can follow it up here.
All right, bud. Well, congratulations on picking up the win here in round number 1, leading the D-Class championship, and I guess leading the overall championship now as well. We'll talk to you guys a little bit more about that. Before we let you go, get all those sponsor plugs and thank yous in as well.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Downforce Racing. We worked hard all week on driving here in the USF and working on setup in the Indy Pro. So it was nice to see all 3 of us at least start up front. Didn't quite finish up there. Had a couple of mistakes, but hopefully we can iron those out and do better here. And thanks you guys for putting on a great broadcast. And I'm looking forward to hopefully being back in here with you after this next race and watching it back after that.
It sounds good, buddy. Thank you much. We appreciate you checking in with us here. And man, I'll tell you what, sold. That's what you can call me on this one. We're looking forward to it. Let's talk you through the little bit of how this is going to work, at least for the first couple of weeks. The USF 2000 race runs at 9 o'clock in the East. The USF race runs at 10 o'clock in the East. So what we're going to do is we're going to pre-record the open wheel D-Class race, show that right after, and I mean immediately after, the Indy Pro 2000 or C-Class broadcast. So it's all going to be one show. It's still going to fit within the hour. The schedules have kind of condensed a little bit. They've shortened up the Indy Pro races, so everything still should fit within about that span of 1 hour. And then we'll put up over the course of the evening or probably tomorrow morning, we'll post up on our website, nationalracingnetwork.com, and on our social media channels, the updated point standings for USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, and the overall broadcast standings championships. Man, I'll tell you what, Jason, we'll come to you first. I got what I was looking for. What are you thinking here as we get ready for Indy Pro now?
So I know this is going to air after the Indy Pro race airs on the broadcast, but we're 6 minutes into Reg and it's already split. So, I'm not a community manager anymore for Indy Pro, but I was for 7 seasons. I think it's the best car on the service. I love it. To see that immediate participation bump from the schedule alignment, you know me, I'm an oval guy. I would gladly sacrifice one of the 3 oval weeks if it means we get better participation for one of the best cars on the iRacing service.
Yeah, and Patrick, to speak to that, there was a lot of consternation, concern, whatever you want to call it, that this change may have effectively killed both of these cars that were already sort of on life support. Week 1 may be too early to judge, but so far so good. The numbers look great in both of these classes.
Yeah, now I am the worst person to talk on this because I've pretty much quit driving iRacing officials completely. But from what I've seen, we're looking pretty good so far. I mean, I don't want to say they killed off the FR 2.5, but they're not running it right this season anymore. So a lot of those drivers had to find another low-level formula car that's fun to drive, low power, easy to jump into, hard to master. And the Indy Pro 2000 and USF 2000 fit perfect into that window. Good quality of drivers in the series, and you're going to have a great season, I think.
Well, and not only that, Patrick, but think about it. There's 6 free tracks. You buy 2 cars, and then Spa, Watkins Glen, or Road Atlanta, Road America. There's your 8 tracks, and you've got your participation credits in 2 series right there.
Not only that, those 4 tracks you just mentioned, they're used in just about every series in iRacing. I talk about NASCAR, all right, Watkins Glen. Talk about literally any road series on the service. Spa. I mean, every series runs Spa once a season. It is the worst track on iRacing, and for some reason it's run every week. So you can't go wrong. If you needed an excuse to buy Spa, here it is. These cars are actually fun there. You can
I think what you're saying, Patrick, is everyone on the service should come out and run these 2 series this season.
The barrier of entry this season is, the way I'm looking at it, if you've run any other series, the barrier of entry is $10 or $20 if you want to buy both cars. I've spent $20 on lunch before. If you're not running the series, skip a lunch one day and come run it.
Well, and James, let's come to you to kind of wrap this up, because it leads me to probably one of the bigger points here, and I hate the naming convention. I really do. But to the newer iRacing fan and iRacing member, you now have your paths kind of set out for you. If you want to run the Eurocentric cars, you run Formula D, Formula C, Formula B, Formula A. If you want to run the American-centric series, U.S. Open Wheel D, U.S. Open Wheel C, and even by the time you get to C-Class, you're able to get into an IndyCar for the fixed series. So there's really a lot here that says there's a logical progression to this now. And that same barrier to entry stays low, because if you want to move into the IndyCar, you just have to buy the IndyCar, because the schedules are going to be similar-ish in terms of what tracks they run.
Can I throw out one thing? And don't hate on me for this, but I firmly believe that the Silver Crowns should be U.S. Open Wheel B class.
I can agree with that.
Agreed.
It is a USAC series. USF 2000 and PM18 are both USAC series. So you have USAC D, USAC C, USAC B would be the Silver Crowns, and then you get to not USAC anymore, but still kind of almost. I mean, the headquarters is right up the road from Indianapolis.
It's across the roundabout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of can't miss the USAC headquarters. But James, go ahead. Let's get your thoughts on this before we wrap up.
So, well, first of all, I want to go back to what Jason was saying when he was talking about I'd be willing to sacrifice one of my 3. I half expected him to say iRacing accounts. I was expecting him to say Old Week, but that too is also what he would say. But yeah, I think as silly and as simple as the naming setup we have, I honestly think it might work out better, because a lot of people may not necessarily know what the USF 2000 or the Indy Pro 2000 are. So they see the series logos, but they don't exactly know what it is, what the car is, and what the point of the series. So with having it be US Open Wheel D and C, it's a little more clear, obvious, and upfront about what the car is and what the series is going to be. So I think it's brought a lot of people who might not have necessarily known what these series are about.
Yeah, I think these changes are seeing them in practice. I think they're for the better, and quite frankly, with participation increasing the way it is, I'm thrilled with it. I am super stoked that we are back for another season of U.S. Open Wheel D. Well, U.S. Open Wheel C, and our first season of U.S. Open Wheel D. Who knows? Maybe we'll pick up the Silver Crowns on Monday night again. But we'll see. That will come a little bit later on, maybe for season 2. But with that, it is time for us to get the heck on out of here. This one has been fun. Time for us to get on out of here. You will see us again next week here for the U.S. Open Wheel C and U.S. Open Wheel D championships. For Patrick Byrne, James Watson, Jason Owens, everybody else here on the National Racing Network that makes these broadcasts happen, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will talk to you all soon. Have a good night, everybody.